Today we'll be exploring lesson 3.8. This lesson is about the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. The first thing we will talk about is how to identify parallel and perpendicular lines.
Parallel lines are two coplanar lines that do not intersect at any point.
Perpendicular lines are two coplanar lines that intersect, forming four right angles.
In this lesson, we will teach you how to determine the slope of parallel and perpendicular lines. The first way we will teach you is how to find slope using the coordinates and points of parallel and perpendicular lines.
Slope is the ratio of vertical change, also known as rise, to the horizontal run, also known as run. The equation to find slope of either parallel or perpendicular lines is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. M represents the slope, and you must substitute the coordinates of the points into the equation in order to find the slope.
First, we will teach you about parallel lines and their slopes. If two non-vertical lines are parallel, then their slopes must be equal. If the slopes of the lines are equal, then the lines are parallel. On the board, we have an example problem that we're going to walk through together to ensure that you guys understand. Line 1 has coordinates negative 1, 5, and 2, negative 4, and line 2 has coordinates negative 3, 3, and negative 1, negative 4. So, as you recall, the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 over x1. The slopes have to be equal, so that's one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this. So on the side, I have the problem. In this case, y2 will be the second coordinate of line 1, which is 2, negative 4. So y2 is negative 4 minus 5 over x2 minus x1, which in this case is 2 minus negative 1. This comes out to be negative 9 over 3, and by process of simplification, you get negative 3. So that is the slope for line 1. Line 2, if you look at the coordinates, then you'll see that y2 is negative 4 and y1 is 3. So it's negative 4 minus 3 over negative 1 minus negative 3, and that comes out to negative 7 halves. Negative 3 is not equal to negative 7 halves, so line 1 is not parallel to line 2.
We'll discuss how to find the slope of perpendicular lines. If two coplanar non-vertical lines are perpendicular, the product of their slope will equal negative 1. So we have, on the graph, we have line 1 and line 2, and since the slope, the problem for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, we have line 1 where y2 is negative 2 minus negative 4 minus 2, and 0, and x2 is 0 minus negative 4, which comes up to negative 6 over 4, which equals negative 3 halves. For line 2, we have 3 minus negative 3 over 4 minus negative 5, which equals 6 ninths, which simplifies to 2/3. Negative 3 halves times 2/3 equals negative 1. So line 1 is perpendicular to line 2.
Now you will need to know how to find the equation of the line parallel or perpendicular to your given line. For example, in some cases you will be given a slope and a point and must use this information to determine whether or not you could find a line that is parallel or perpendicular to your given one. The first equation type we will teach you is called point-slope form. The formula for point-slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where m represents the slope and y1 and x1 represent the coordinates of a point. Using this formula, you will be able to find the equation of lines perpendicular or parallel to other lines.
We can go through the first problem together to make sure you guys understand. Write an equation in point-slope form of the line parallel to point 6, negative 1 with slope 4. Recall that parallel lines have equal slopes, so remember to keep the slope 4. Remember that our equation for point-slope form is y minus y1, where y1 is the given point, equals m times the quantity of x minus x1, where m is the slope and x is also the given, x1 is also the given point. So we just substitute y minus negative 1 equals 4 times the quantity of x minus 6. Then we simplify. Y plus 1 equals 4 times the quantity of x minus 6.
The second type of equation that we will be teaching you is called slope-intercept form. The formula for slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is still representative of the slope, and b is the y-intercept. So keep that in mind as we go along. The first step that we're going to use to teach you guys slope-intercept is using the point-slope form that we just taught you and turning it into slope-intercept form. So as you can see, on this side, we use the final solution from the previous problem, which is y plus 1 equals 4, times x minus 6. And the first step to doing this is to distribute the 4 to everything in the parentheses so that you have no parentheses. After you get that, you should have y plus 1 equals 4x minus 24. You want to get the variable alone because the equation is y equals mx plus b, where the variable is alone. So you subtract 1 from both sides. You subtract or add depending on your problem, obviously, but in this case it's going to be subtract. And then your final answer, if after you subtract 1 from both sides, is y equals 4x minus 25. And if you compare that to the slope-intercept form, then you see that this is matching. And this is the final answer.
Review problem number 1. Writing the equation in slope-intercept form of the line perpendicular to y equals negative 4x plus 1 with point 2, comma, negative 3. Since perpendicular lines have to use the opposite reciprocal, the slope of our equation is going to be positive 1/4. Remember, in point slope form, our equation is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So when we substitute, y minus negative 3 equals 1/4 times the quantity of x minus 2. And simplify, y plus 3 equals 4 times the 1/4 times the quantity of x minus 2. But we're not done. To turn this problem into slope-intercept form, we must distribute 1/4 to x and negative 2. So y plus 3 equals 1/4 x minus 1/2. Subtract 3 from both sides, and y equals 1/4 x minus 3/2.
Okay, review problem number 2. Write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line parallel to y minus negative x, y equals negative x minus 7 with point 5, comma 3. Remember that this one is asking us to find the line parallel, so the slope is going to be equal. So in this case, the slope is going to be negative 1, as shown in the equation. So this is the equation for point slope form, so now we have to substitute with our point and slope. So you get y minus y1, which in this case is 3. So y minus 3 equals negative 1 times the quantity of x minus 5. This is the final point slope form because simplification is already done and you're good to go. But we're going to ask you to find it in slope-intercept form now. So recall the equation for slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And now you have to distribute from what we just found in point slope form. So y minus 3 equals negative 1x minus 5. So you distribute the negative 1 to everything in the parentheses, and you get y minus 3 equals negative 1x plus 5. Now you have to add 3 to both sides to get the variable alone, and you get y equals negative 1x plus 8, and that is the final